Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's show, I got to meet Michael a few weeks ago. We really hit it off, and he has a lot of amazing information to share. But let's welcome Michael Fichman, one of the owners of CLT Buyers down in Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
Absolutely. Great to see you, Andrew. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So let's just jump right into it. I know who you are. I got to spend a little bit of time getting to know you prior to this episode. But for those that don't know you yet, give us like a high level overview of who Michael is, what you do down in Charlotte.
Sure. So I started in real estate in 2019, early 2019. I was a bartender, worked nights. So I actually hooked up with my now business partner, Ed Pugh, and started really working for free just to kind of gain knowledge early on because I wasn't working until 5 o'clock every day. And from 2019 up until now, it's progressed drastically. Of course, I'm in this full time now. We do wholesaling, we do fix and flips, we do creative financing, buy and holds, rent by the room, basically everything under the sun except new
construction. A lot
construction.
of exit strategies under your belt, it sounds like, dude.
A fair few, yeah.
Yeah. So what's your role specifically with CLT?
So I run acquisitions, dispositions, as well as marketing.
Okay.
So basically, I'm in the trenches when it comes to getting the deals under contract and moved.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ed handles transaction coordination, as well as money raising, as well as legal. And he's more of the boots on the ground, going to all of the meetups, putting the brand out there for us.
Gotcha. And are you guys just doing this locally in Charlotte, or do you do this like anywhere else?
So our marketing is really within the hour radius of the Charlotte metro, but we've done deals in South Carolina. We've done deals in Tennessee and Georgia, Virginia. But it depends on who potentially brings us a deal or maybe needs help on something, but we don't actively seek those deals out.
Okay, cool. And Michael, kind of just like before we get into it, I know you just explained kind of what you did before, but like, why did you wind up getting into real estate? Like, was it always been a passion of yours, or like kind of explain a little bit more detail of like how that came to be about, if you will?
Yeah, sure. So my mother was a real estate agent growing up, but always on the residential retail side. So I always knew kind of the investment lure, but I never really saw anybody practicing it. Okay. I don't come from a real entrepreneurial based family. Like obviously my mom is an agent and, worked on her own, but not the same thing. And I just knew that corporate 9 to 5, put in your 30 years wasn't for me. Not because I didn't want it. Well, I didn't want to do it, but I just knew if I bet on myself, I could get to where I wanted to be faster. I knew it wouldn't be easier or necessarily the cleanest route, but I'm antsy. I didn't want to wait, and I was kind of willing to bet on myself. And then I heard about wholesaling, where you could make $15, $20 without any of your own money invested into the deal, just time. And that was a trade-off I was more than willing to do.
Yeah, that's hard to do. Either easier said than done. You mentioned like your roles at CLT. You're the marketer, acquisitions, dispositions. We all kind of know what marketing is, high level. You're getting people to say, hey, I'm interested in selling. For those for those who are listening that might not understand what an acquisition department is or disposition department is, can you give us a high level of what that is?
Sure. So let's start with acquisitions. Acquisitions is me either going direct to seller or through their agent to try and acquire deals at enough of a discount where I can either improve them to sell them for a higher number myself, or turn them into a rental, or connect another buyer for that property. It entails tons of phone calls and text messages and emails and constant follow-up. Your phone is your lifeline. There's never a call you can miss. Everything needs to be answered within 5 minutes, really like a minute. But it is a sales role through and through. And it's really rewarding because you get to help people who are in difficult situations resolve their problems, but you have to be able to, at the same time, handle and solve those problems. So it's not just being able to offer a low price. It's also able to offer solutions that fit needs other than bags of cash, which is most of the problems.
Right price, right?
Absolutely, right.
So you don't get stuck between a rock and a hard place if you wind up acquiring it for too much. So So, okay, so you do marketing to get conversations going with homeowners in some sort of a distress situation. Positions is, hey, we're interested in buying your house, work out all the details. I'm sure not every single property has the exact same kind of thing going on. So I'm
I
sure
wish they did, but they
you're
sure
probably,
don't. No.
well, yeah, you and me both, dude. So you hear them out. You say, okay, what's your situation, your scenario? What hurdles do we have to remove in order to get to the end result, which is acquiring the house for flipping, rentals, or selling it, or in other instances, like assigning it to a new end buyer. And then someone says, okay, I want to sell you 10 Main Street, Michael. What, like, kind of walk us through, like, what do you all do from that point forward?
Sure. So there's two departments that start at the same time here. I don't want to get too in the weeds, but there's the dispositions as well as transaction coordination. So once we have the property under contract, the transaction, the TC side of the business, they're interacting with attorneys, ordering title searches to make sure that there's no liens and proper ownership, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're working directly with the seller at that point, making sure all paperwork is handled properly and nothing gets falling behind.
Gotcha.
At the exact same time, the dispositions department is required to find the end buyer for that property in wholesale transactions. So if I'm flipping it myself, don't need dispositions. But if I'm wholesaling it, that person is reaching out to all the other cash buyers, all the agents that represent investor buyers. We're putting it on Facebook groups and we're putting it on Craigslist and every avenue where someone who might be interested in paying a little bit more than what we have it under contract for could see it. And
Did you
then,
just say Craigslist? Is that still a thing? I haven't been on Craigslist in like 10 years. That's still
yeah.
out there.
So funny enough, we do use Craigslist for very specific disposition strategies.
And it works. Like people actually are on there, like reaching out. Oh, wow.
Absolutely. It kind of, go where the market is, right? So just to kind of dive a little bit into that, we might get a home that needs a ton of work and I could buy it for $20,000, let's say. But someone may be willing to live in that home and fix it up as they go, kind of like a house hack. And that's really advantageous to people who may not qualify for traditional financing, 1099s, or people that can't get qualified for a traditional loan.
Gotcha.
So those people are just more prevalent on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and eBay and other sorts of sites like that.
Right.
So might as well put it in front of them there versus on a cash buyer distribution list where none of those people will be living in the property while they.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense, dude. So, all right, so you have all these apartments. What's your team like structure look like? How many people are on there? How many deals are you guys doing a month? Can you walk us through like the organization?
Sure. I think it's helpful to understand where we were versus where we are now. So in 22, 23, we were up to virtual and in person, roughly 15 to 20 employees. We were doing 6 to 7 deals a month. And I'm sorry, what was the other piece that you asked for?
Just like how you're organized, like
organize it. Yeah. Okay. So we were doing cold calling, we were doing texting, we were doing agent reach out. We were built on an outbound model. We were doing mail, but things that required a large team. Over time, I learned that with more employees, more exit strategies, just increases complexity and it becomes much more to manage, maybe for more results, maybe not. So in end of 24, beginning of 25, we started resetting everything. And I actually, over the last 2 years, have brought my business back to just me and my business partner, Ed.
Okay. Oh, so you downsized considerably in an effort to kind of streamline and lean out your entire team.
Yeah, we switched from an outbound marketing model to an inbound marketing model. And obviously that raises costs internally, but the amount of heads I needed to handle that drastically shrank.
Right.
And for me, I'm always the guy that would rather do 10 deals at 20,000 than 20 deals at 10,000. So we have taken that approach. We knew what's coming with AI. We knew the automations exist where a lot of what we had relied on people for prior wasn't necessarily required anymore. So we went towards that side of the business. So
Very
now,
cool.
even a year later, I'm bringing on a virtual lead manager here shortly, but this is the first employee that we're hiring again since beginning of 25.
Awesome. So you guys, just the two of you, are doing 6 or 7 deals a month, which is pretty good.
So let me also be honest with you on that. I don't want to beat the
Okay.
chest as some like big guru. So obviously that shrank as well. We couldn't do as many deals. Marketing spend went way down, etc. But what we focused on was profitability, right? So back then, our average deal size may have been 12,500 to the 15,000 range. Once we change this, our deal size is now 27 to 32. So
Nice.
I have to do one third as many deals to get the same results.
Yeah.
So now we're 2 to 4 deals a month. I'd like to get back to 6 to 7, but that requires tons of marketing spend on an inbound basis, which means I got to get the team in place first.
Right. Dude, I love that kind of lean optimization that you just described. Making more money per deal allows you to do less deals, and you're kind of climbing back up that. So you're doing close to, it sounds like on average with that spread, close to hitting 6 figures, if not over 6 figures. How did you do that? How did you go from, I think you said 12 to 15 to 28 to 32 or whatever the spread was, but you basically doubled. It was that net or gross income?
A gross for
Okay. How
sure.
did you do that?
But let's also be transparent in the fact that there isn't a ton of cost in wholesale. So, like, the difference between gross and net is not massive. My cost per deal is roughly $4,200, right?
Okay.
So, what I think really changed was just our underwriting criteria.
Hmm.
When we had started, you want to help every single person, no matter the situation, no matter the
Yeah.
spread. And now, if there's a deal that we may make $10,000 on, $15,000 on, it can't start there for us anymore. Because the problem with thin deals is the second something comes up, all flexibility is gone. If
Hmm.
I am going to make 7 grand and then the buyer in their walkthrough realizes they need a new HVAC and the seller won't budge on price. Well, it's only going to come out of my wholesale fee. And if an HVAC is 5 to 7 grand, I went from making 7 grand to nothing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But if I seek for a deal that I might start at 25 to 30 grand, because there's many more problems that need to be solved, so we're going to get it at a bigger discount, that $7,000 HVAC takes me from 25 to 18. That's
Yeah.
an easy decision to make. And it isn't stretching the business from a resource standpoint for smaller checks that may not be worth the time it takes.
Yeah, man. So you kind of changed to saying, yes, we'll make anything happen for the sheer fact of making it happen and having the record count go up by one, to saying, hey, let's kind of focus on quality acquisition prices here. And that kind of probably also, dude, made your life less stressful as well. Like going from these very small, one thing happens and everything is for nothing, to like, hey, we do have some wiggle room. So I don't know if this is a good word for it, but like you're getting pickier with what deals that you want to take and which deals you're learning how to say no to deals
Learning how
that
to say no.
maybe, yeah, a beginner might not be able to say no to at that point, right?
Absolutely. I have a wonderful mentor out of California, and he's a big developer, longtime money raiser, did all the stuff, right? And what one of the biggest things, he told me, which everyone knows, but it gets lost in the shuffle, is we're not building a business to build the biggest business.
Mm-hmm.
We're building a business so that our quality of life improves and we are able to do more of the things we want to do and
Right.
take care of our family, right? And going from 50 deals a year to 100 deals a year may not be the best thing for your life.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we create the business that fits your lifestyle? He always told me, if you wanted to double your sales, rather than try and do twice as many, why not try and do the same amount in 6 months and then just take 6 months off? It's the
Yeah.
same thing, but we always look at it as we have to do more,
Yeah.
and quality gets destroyed in that process.
Dude, I like your approach there. And as you know, like with my line of work and what I do with like my software and the marketing agency stuff, I get to talk to a lot of teams. And it's more often than not that maybe you'd be surprised, maybe not, but it's like, oh, we're doing 200 deals, 100 deals, we're doing all this stuff. I'm like, cool, what's your profit on that? And they're like, 4%. I'm like, okay, well, the math means like you're not really making or taking or keeping that much profit at the end of the day, but you're doing 200 deals. Like that's hard. That's really disincentivizing in some way. So I know I've been there myself. Like we would
Yeah,
do a lot of deals. We were at 11%, and we made changes kind of like you, dude. And then we implemented systems and processes and went up to 36.6%. And that's a
exactly.
lot if you're in hundreds of thousands of dollars of volume or multi-millions in volume. Like that's a big, big, big difference. And the message that I love that I'm hearing is like, if you want to make more money, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to triple your output or your transactions close in order to do so. You can just get really lean and super calibrated with the deals that you do. And it's almost as simple as that, man. Like you're making the same, if not more, by doing less deals because you understand that concept.
It took a long time, right? I don't want to act like it was an easy switch. And I think you said something earlier that I really wanted to touch on, which is like, it's all like you were talking about how it's made my life easier. The reason I took this route is because I had made my life so hard. I didn't know it until like
Yeah.
I was too far down that path,
Yeah.
taking calls all hours of the night. I have a newborn son at home, and I'm prioritizing responding to text messages on potential leads. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't matching what I needed. So I had to change. And, do I get antsy now that I'm not doing as many deals, which means every deal has to be a little bit better? And of course, it's a
Yeah.
new challenge that I have to handle, but it's a heck of a lot better and more able to be managed and systematized than.
Yeah. The lifestyle is just completely black and white, like a 180 switch. And to each his own out there. You didn't want to
Absolutely.
have to be like transaction for like making 1 or 2K if something popped up. So I really respect that, dude. That's really cool as a business owner that you're able to make those massive changes and pivots, and you're doing great right now, dude.
Yeah,
Like
man, I really
that's
appreciate it.
that's what
It's
it's
been a
all
lot of
about.
hard work.
Yeah, man. Well, I know we're coming up to time here, but one last question for you, man. You mentioned like you stopped doing outbound, and I'm assuming you meant when you had a larger team and more people to only inbound. What did you mean by that? Like, what are your lead sources that you are transacting off?
Today. So yeah, so now I primarily run through Google Ads and SEO.
Okay.
So, people hitting my website. We
Okay.
do utilize paper lead services kind of as auxiliary leads to help fill the need when we might have a slow month.
Got it.
And we are going to be implementing outbound mail again here in the near future.
Cool.
The way I view it is I built it from outbound the first time and there just wasn't enough flexibility. Now let's start with the highest quality possible and then just build a little bit slower. So
Cool.
I'd rather be married to the phone for someone who is truly in need versus reaching out to people who might be in need.
And you said Google Ads. Did you specifically mean pay-per-click Google Ads?
Pay per click Google Ads. It's pricey, right? Like paper lead services are out there so you can get the lead without having all the setup and the systems and the time that pay per
Yeah, and the
click
ad budget.
brings and the budget. But for us, we are not a wholesale company that hides behind ABC home buyers. Like that's fine, but like we are going to be known in Charlotte. We are the varsity team in the space. We are here to help solve problems and you have to know who we are. So
Very
for
cool.
us, that was so important. We needed the PPC because we needed our branding, our messaging.
Love it, dude. Yeah, I'm a big fan of PPC, as you know. That's been our number one lead source forever, for as long as I can even remember, man. Michael, one last thing. If someone's in Charlotte and they're in real estate or they have a house to sell and they're listening to this and they just want to connect with you and touch base and chat, how does
Yep.
somebody reach you down there?
Sure. So please follow us on Instagram at CLT Buyers. We are very active on that channel. We will respond to everything immediately. And of course, we're happy to help you guys out with deals. What I would also say is we're big in the events in the space. We host a weekly office hours session every Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. We've been doing it for 6 years. It's just open office. You come in, be as selfish as you want with your time, ask us about your questions, your deals. We can help work you through them to help get it to the finish line. We've been
Very
doing
cool.
that. We've built up 4 or 5 teams in the space that now compete with us, but there's more than enough houses out there. Everyone can eat and then some.
Right,
So
man.
we're more than
Dude,
happy to help.
on that point, I'm in a bunch of different masterminds, and there's some very successful people. And one of those people, she said, hopefully I won't misquote it, but those at the bottom compete, those at the top collaborate. So that's a different mentality. And the fact that you guys are literally inviting people into your office to like learn anything and everything they want, that just means you're one of the people at the top, man, and you're collaborating versus competing with these people, because networking comes into play a lot too. So might as well make allies in this,
It's
short
very
life.
hard to do deals alone, right? Like you can find them, but using your super team or your network to help get that done quicker
Yeah.
is worth its weight in gold. And the more people you can meet, the more people you can help. And in return, more people will want to help you.
Right, man. Well, we'll end the conversation on that, Michael. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for being here. We'll include the link to all of your, your website and your contact information in the description of the video. But thanks so much for sharing this, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you again, Andrew. I appreciate being on here. It means
All
a
right,
lot.
man. Later.
Later.